project, I chose to use a project that I created for EDEL 545 in the summer of 2014. This project challenged us to create our vision of the future of education, which I created using Haiku Deck. The reason that I chose this project is because it challenged me to think about where education is heading and what I can do as an educator to get students ready for this future. It also made me reflect on the ever-changing nature of education and how, as educators, we need to keep this in mind and look forward to the future. Educators need to grow, reflect, and adapt, which this project represented for me. For the Vision project, we needed to outline what we've seen as the future of education. For me, this entailed a handful of big ideas, which I will outline briefly to help explain my vision. One of the big pieces of the future of education as I see it is the role that one-to-one technology will play in the classroom. Integrating technology makes students engaged and eager to learn. Some of the benefits include creativity and innovation, collaboration and communication, creative thinking, problem solving, and it allows students access to individualized learning. Another component of my vision of the future of education is gamification, or using game-based elements in a non-game environment. This can lead to student buy-in, and the learning makes more sense to students. Some of the ways you might see this in the classroom include badges, leaderboards, and quests. I also see the maker movement as part of education's future, where students are creators of knowledge rather than just consumers of content. This gives students a chance to increase their problem solving and creativity, and this doesn't need to be technology-based, it can also be hands-on creation. With our increased access to technology, teachers can provide students with a blended learning environment, which is a combination of both a physical classroom space and a digital learning environment. This creates autonomy and individualized learning, where students are able to learn at their own pace and the learning becomes more dynamic. So, if the future of education is going to include technology and online practices, it's going to be very important then that the future of education also has students learning how to be safe in this online environment. We can't assume that students know just automatically how to be safe. It needs to be taught. They also need to learn that their digital footprint can have long-term consequences. That being said, students also need to be digitally literate. They need to be able to access, analyze, and evaluate information, create content, and reflect on this creation of content. In the future, it's also going to be really important that students have access to unplugged time away from technology, where they can do things like read and play. It's going to be imperative that teachers are able to find a balance. One of the great things about technology and online learning is that students now have access to an authentic audience, and in the future, I think this is going to play a larger role in the classroom. Students are going to be able to write for someone no longer just their teacher, but for a wider global audience, which will help them be careful, considerate, and develop their identity as writers. This online environment also will allow them to become global learners, and those physical walls of the classroom are going to be removed, and students are going to be able to have access to global collaboration. And of course, teachers are going to play a huge role in the future of our education. Unfortunately, change doesn't occur without teachers being on board, and this means teachers have to take initiative to engage in professional development. Professional development is going to need to be real-time, individual, and meaningful. And teachers are going to have to strive to be connected educators, reaching out to that global community of learners in order to change and make their practices better for students. But, like anything, there are two sides to every coin, and there are implications for my vision as well. Things like technology cost a lot of money. There also needs to be staff buy-in, and your administration needs to really have the same vision, otherwise nothing can get accomplished. Also, teacher leaders are going to need to push initiatives if we want to see change and this push for 21st century learning happening in our classrooms. So now that I'm finishing up my master's, what are my future professional learning goals? Well, I want to continue to stay up to date on the literature so that my teaching remains relevant and based in sound research. I want to use this research and evidence to back up my pedagogical choices. And I always want to push myself to continue learning, whether that be online, through collaboration with co-workers or other professionals, through research, or whatever that avenue may be. I just want to continue learning and growing. I also find myself with new questions now that I'm wrapping up my program. Questions like, how can I share my knowledge with coworkers and help move my school forward? How can I continue to use what I've learned in my master's to improve and impact my practice? And the question of now what? As I reflect on the journey I've taken in my Master's of Curriculum and Pedagogy, I realize the biggest thing that I've taken away are the practices that I'm going to take into my classroom, both right now and continuing into the future. I feel like now I have a foundation to use research to make my decisions, and I'm going to continuously focus on creating authentic and meaningful learning opportunities for my students. I've also recognized the value of collaboration, especially in having to work so closely with classmates throughout this program. Finally, I've just really realized the importance of curriculum and pedagogy in the classroom and how this needs to be your foundation for everything that you do. Thank you for taking the time to watch my tapping project.